Ole Miss had a very good season last year. Finished with a record of 10-3 under Lane Kiffin. Unfortunately, did not make the playoffs as much as Lane Kiffin tried to push for it on Twitter. Just didn't happen, largely due to their slip-up against Kentucky. You cannot let that happen, but it did, and so they don't go to the playoffs. And now they have to replace a ton of production on both sides of the ball. Starting at quarterback, Jackson Dart is now a New York Giant, and Austin Simmons is the guy to take the reins. Was second string last year. You may remember him. He led the touchdown drive against Georgia. That was huge in that game. Ole Miss is very high on him, but what do y'all think about him?
I think he's going to perform well, but almost any quarterback performs well in a Lane Kiffin offense.
Yeah.
And that's why I was kind of lower on Jackson Dart, although I've liked what I've seen from Jackson Dart so far in the preseason. He's a talented passer. He can make all the throws you need to make. I don't know if he's good enough to win you games, as in, like, be the guy that goes out there and wins the game for them. And he's going to have to be, because I don't think the defense is going to be as good as it was last year. I mean, the defense was arguably top 5, inarguably top 10 in the country. They controlled the line of scrimmage in so many of their big wins. They controlled the line of scrimmage. The Georgia game, they controlled the line of scrimmage. The South Carolina game, like, South Carolina comes into that game kind of thinking they're going to be really, really good, and they dominate South Carolina 27-3. Of course, controlled Oklahoma in that game, beat Arkansas a week after Tennessee had lost at Arkansas. And so I think this year, offensively, they're going to have to be better. I don't have a lot of faith now again in the receiver room. I don't know if they're any better than they were last year. And in fact, I think they're worse. And I think the quarterback stepped down. I think Jackson had the ability to go out there and win some games. Now, he would lose you games. He lost you the Florida game. And maybe if Simmons is able to not lose them games, then it's a step up. But I think he's going to put up numbers. I don't think he's a quarterback that can win you the big games. And they've got to win big games this year if they're going to make the playoff, unlike last year. Last year, the schedule panned out to where they had to win maybe one game, and they were going to be in the playoff. And then they lose inexplicably to Kentucky and Florida. And they also kind of lose crazy in a game where they lead every single second against LSU in Death Valley. That was the difference between them making the playoff. And their only tough game last year was Georgia. This year, it's not the case. They are playing really tough competition. And that is because everyone else around them has improved, and I feel like they've taken a step back. And so I think there's large concern there for Kiffin and the Rebels this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair about them taking a step back. I actually am pretty high on Austin Simmons. Stuff I've been reading, I think they're also very high on Austin Simmons. I think they think there's a world he's better than Jackson Dart, but he's young, right? He doesn't have the experience Jackson Dart has had, so there very well could be growing pains with that, especially when you're just replacing a lot of people around him, right? You bring in Deshaun Stribling, top wide receiver at Oklahoma State last year. He had 800 yards there last year. I think he could be good. Caden Lee is another weapon he could use. And then I think their tight end room is one of the best in the country. You lose Caden Prescorn, but Luke Haas comes in from Arkansas. He's really good in my opinion. And then you still have Daquan Wright. He's also pretty good. Both could end up getting drafted. But where I really think they're going to take a step back is the defense. You mentioned them being a top 10, top 5 defense last year, and that's not necessarily been the norm for Ole Miss teams under Lane Kiffin. You lose. I'm just going to, read off a list of guys they lost: Walter Nolan, Trey Amos, Chris Paul, Princely. I'm not even.
Oman Milan.
Is Emmanuelin.
Thank you.
Really?
That's how I think it was pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the extra U?
I mean, who knows?
Dude, I don't know. And you're asking the pronunciation guy to pronounce something.
Yeah. And then J.J. Pegues. So
something.
I think they lost a ton defensively, and they did bring in a couple guys, but there's just no way to replace that. So in my opinion, they actually missed a huge opportunity last year. That was it was inexcusable for them not to make the playoffs with the roster they had and the schedule, let alone, you should have won a playoff game. You should have maybe won 2 playoff games with how good that team was, and yet you don't even make the playoffs because you blow some games. And so now they have to look to bounce back, and I agree. I think the roster's worse, and I think the defense is going to take a pretty sizable step back. It's a Lane Kiffin offense. They're going to find a way to put up points and put up yards. But that defense is just
They lose essentially 3 first-round picks in Nolan, Amos, and Emanuelen, as I would pronounce it personally, and they don't have any that they don't bring in a big transfer this year like they brought in Walter Nolan.
Sunter Perkins will be their best defender, kind of outside linebacker, rushing the passer, but it's not as complete of a group, nowhere near. They won't dominate the line of scrimmage like they did last year.
Not at all. And running back is, as they know, Rebel fans know, like that's still kind of a question for them.
Yeah.
Are they going to get production from that after the loss of Quinshon Judkins? They haven't seen that. I don't know if they're going to see that this year either. That's probably their weakest point of their offense, outside of maybe offensive line questions. Over under 8.5. Sanders, you obviously hate the Rebels. How do you feel about the Rebels this year, man?
I feel like they're going to be another really good offensive team because, like you said earlier, it's Lane Kiffin. And while they did lose some pieces, I'll be interested to see how they had the second best recruiting class in the SEC in 2024. They had the second best transfer class in the SEC this year. I'll be interested to see if some of those 2024 recruits who are going into their sophomore years, are we going to see some of them get playing time? Are they going to step up and kind of fill the shoes of the guys who just went to the NFL draft? The transfer class, how good is it? It was behind only LSU in the SEC. I think it was maybe third behind LSU and Texas Tech in the country. So it was a top 5, top 10 class nationally. So they're going to be a talented team.
I think my concern there is like live and die by the transfer portal. They could die. They could easily die.
They could die.
They've not died yet, and it almost feels like a die is coming.
That is fair, and I 100% agree that they could. With the over/under being 8.5, they're projected to start 11 transfers. So and half their roster, I believe that's the most in the SEC, according to our lads, and that's maybe not the most up to date, but that's what we have. So 11 projected transfers to start. 10 wins with this schedule. I don't see it.
8.
Well,
I see. I see. You're doing
the argument for them to go over 8.5 is they need to win 2 games between LSU, Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Florida. They just need to win 2. If they win the rest, they've gotten to 9 wins.
He probably has some losing.
But that's
State,
also
though.
saying they don't have a slip up against Kentucky again. They
so
just
is
have
that-
to win 2 of LSU, Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Florida.
Yeah.
We lost the
Yeah.
stream, by the way. Did your phone die?
It may have died. Can I get your phone?
Yeah, if you can. Yeah, hold on.
So in order for them to hit 9 wins, you have to beat LSU at home, win at Georgia, win at Oklahoma, South Carolina at home, Florida at home. You have to win 2 out of those 5 games. I think they'd pick the 2 to be at home more than likely. So then you just need to go 2 out of 3 at home, and they can do that. I personally would take them to go under. I think they'll go 8-4 though.
I'm also taking the under, and I also have them going 8-4. And then I think they can bounce back the year after that. I think it's kind of a bit of a reset year for them because Lane Kiffin's been great there. I mean, they've won a ton of games every year, double-digit games multiple times. He has the program just kind of rolling at this point, but the SEC is just tough. And so if you take a step back, it can lead to, an 8-win season. That really isn't that bad, but then, for a lot of people's mind, 8-4 is like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, it's also Austin's first year starting. He's only a redshirt sophomore, so he's got plenty of time to
Correct.
develop. And that was the story has been, at least in Lane Kiffin and Rebel quarterbacks, it's been developing year after year. Matt Corral was like that. Jackson Dart was obviously like that, where it was just he started multiple years and finally then developed into an NFL prospect.
Yeah.
Austin Simmons is likely in that same boat. I think he's got the talent to do that. But it's his first year starting. I don't have the trust in him.
And will just
there
take
yet.
time. I agree.
And so, yeah, I agree. It'll take some time before they can get back to being in playoff contention. I think they'll take a year step back here.
Cool. So we all have them going under. Sanders, do you ever officially choose? Sanders has them going under from off screen. And we can move on to the South Carolina Gamecocks.